Greetings and welcome. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, licensed presenters, the Core New Core, my patrons. Special thank you to my patrons. I need more. Patreon.com. In order for me to continue this broadcast to the base group that I have in mind, which is anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor. Now, of course, that's from the point of view of this broadcast, and doesn't expect it to be taken anything other than a point of view. My job in the broadcast is to try to make it as clear as possible so that you can make of it whatever you want from there. And so I'm honored. Number one, I have 3 titles today. My first title is Honored and Proud. Honored and Proud. Just as I'm finishing my reformer routine, I do the intermediate workout on hermit.com, and I was notified that I was tagged in somewhere else, and it turned out to be in a response to an Instagram post of a Pilates magazine posting Webster's definition of Pilates and asking, what's your definition of Pilates? You get that? And I was named because one of my students, fellow instructor, offered up, quoted my definition, and by that I'm honored. I'm honored. Honored that she would share my definition as something she thought positively towards. I don't want to misquote her. That's a pretty good thing, huh? Insofar as, well, why, proud. As so far as what? As so far honored that she would so explicitly and indirectly share what she knows to be explicitly my definition and offer a link, right? There's more of you out there, and there will be more to come, and the sanctuary or the bond to be found is in the commonality of the knowledge of the point of view. And now why I'm proud also, I think I would extend not just the fact that someone shared it, be there. Be alive. Be there training out of Costa Rica. Violetta quoted my definition. Thank you. And the reason I name you is to honor or shed back the light that you point toward me and say that I'm confident you not only can pass on the definition, but that you can explain it. Because you understand why it is, you understand what it is. So, let me go on to number 2. Oh, no, hold on. It went from 1, honor and proud, plus 1.5, the fact that a major magazine dedicated to Pilates would be offering the Pilates, the Webster's definition, and then what's your definition, can easily feed into and reinforce the notion that there is no definition, or that it cannot be explained beyond the subjectification of what everyone else makes of it. And maybe that doesn't matter, and the subjectification of what I'm making of it, by pointing to the ideal within it, will make itself apparent or not. But my note I wanted to add to that is that mainstream Pilates, I heard somewhere else talk about mainstream something. Mainstream Pilates doesn't know what it is, because they can't explain why it is what it is. So it's being able to explain why something is what it is, and you don't really know what it is unless you know why it is what it is. Understand that from a large part of influential, or a large body of point of view is interested in promulgating the point of view at the end of the spectrum where Pilates has no essence of its own. Makes me proud that a student of mine would quote my definition, and so that's the deal. And so in knowing what you know, you have the knowledge of CT and MMP, and in knowing the definition, the number 5 thing, uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement. Think or feel how solid the ground is on that, because you have a definition of it that comes right from Joe's book. And if that's not enough, it also comes with the claim that there's an experience involved, in that from his book and by his definition, complete coordination, or contrology, is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And from the MMP point of view, that's being, thinking, and observing, and that the complete coordination of that, when when that happens, there's an experience in that. Now, it may be brief or fleeting or last for a while, but usually in diving into finding that experience, when the bubble pops of seeking to coordinate those 3 things and direct what's going on, and when your control, both in your physical manifestation and the ability to direct your thinking in the direction you want to go in, you lose your focus. What I'm saying? In MMP, it's an experience. And the definition seeks to define the ideal within what Joe says about it in his book, trying to take Joe literally. And then 1.10 was, what I want for you, if you're viewing this, and you're not Violetta, I want for you the same thing that I feel she must have in offering up, but my definition, in the confidence of it, to at least say she likes that definition. Now I hope that doesn't subject her to ridicule and thrown tomatoes, but sometimes there's resistance to acknowledgement of reality any more seriously than you want to take it. There, I said that well. For all of us as human beings, how seriously do we have to take life? And how much does knowing about our enjoyment get in the way of our enjoyment? That's a good way. Anyway, what I want for you is the confidence of being familiar with the definition of Pilates according to MMP. And then my ending comment after that is that, to this subject, the true elites distinguish themselves in anything, right? The true elites distinguish themselves. And I'm always just thinking about Pilates and being a Pilates instructor or practitioner. And the elites distinguish themselves most notably by their movement. Embodiment is the ultimate authority, is a favorite of mine. And I usually express that when I'm in the presence of Pilates, when I'm really in the presence of, man, great Pilates, that is the authority that everything else comes from. Now, I'm talking a lot about knowledge lately. And I think that really to move the way you want to move and intend to move, it reveals how much knowledge you have about how your body accomplishes the movement that it does. How aware are you of core new tension? Do you have knowledge of core new tension? And then your knowledge of a point of view of Pilates, just one out of as many as you can think of. Because really Pilates is whatever we make up in our own simulation inside our head. It's whatever we've made up of it. And then whatever we project out of what we've made up of it, we expect that to match up with reality. And sometimes there can be dissonance in that expectation. So finally, I go to number two. Number two, at the heart of the matter. Number two, at the heart of the matter is the physics that your body is seeking to accomplish. Like it or not, care or not, just think that you can just look at the body as biology and not appreciate the physics that the body is accomplishing and how the body is accomplishing the physics that is required to do the movement that it does to move through space. Number three. So the bottom lift is an exercise on the reformer that is a part of if you look at sequences of beginning, intermediate, and advanced, maybe 5 different levels of progressing through the choreography of what you can do on the reformer. I have no idea what the norm is now, but I always used to talk about landing an airplane. Insofar as you start with the body on the reformer, I'm talking about having a reformer session or the time that you spend on the reformer with a client. The exercises, by virtue of the choreography that exists in Joe's films, takes the body, starts the body supine and moves the body further and further away from center, and then goes back down into supine. That's my point. So, at the end of reformer, there's knee stretches, running bottom lift as a group of exercises that no matter you take, and so I talk about landing the plane. Landing the plane is realizing that knee stretches, running bottom lift is a common part of the end of a reformer workout. Knee stretches, running bottom lift. So that wherever you go off to in your adventure on your reformer workout, and more importantly, even if you're not on an adventure and you're just trying to deliver material, when all of a sudden you realize that the time frame that you're in, you only have so much time in which to conclude. Knee stretches, running bottom lift by precedent in history and original work is a pattern that helps bring the body back to ground. And yet, bottom lift is where the bottom is lifted and it is not grounded on the mat. The point is about the core, and that the core is a grip at the hips, and that at the conclusion of your workout, before you go off into splits and whatever else you add on to what I consider to be the end of the reformer work, is at the end of knee stretches, running bottom lift. And there at bottom lift, you are taking the opportunity to go as deeply as you can into your grip at your hips while you're anchored feet to shoulders, before then at the end of that getting up and standing up, having taken as strong a grip as you can at your core, and then move off into the world standing in space from there on. Okay. So, I think of the bottom lift as the end of the workout, and yet the last point to be supported from both ends of your body. So you're supporting yourself with your hips up. And yes, I hear you. You want me to acknowledge that you're reaching for, or you're in neutral spine. You're in neutral spine, and you're seeking to maximize the amount of tension you can create between shoulders and hips to allow your hips to pull down or reach lower as much as they can to get the eccentric lengthening that you're after. So, I had so much fun yesterday introducing. So we're in Michael Miller Pilates. We're way past acknowledging that the hips are a grip and that other grips exist, and through those grips we create tension that is eccentric in its expression. Going into core tension presses out away from the axes around which the engagement is occurring. Okay. So core tension is eccentric in its expression. Oh, but see, I didn't have beads. Beads as though here's the segments of your spine. And in engaging your spine, say hips to shoulders, you're creating tension that is the cause of the decompression. And so much of the leap is being willing just to recognize core new tension between shoulders and ears, but much more importantly that even though it may be a while before you come to and find your ability to really engage in and refine your core new tension between shoulders and hips, it's in the knowledge that you have that the body really does make a grip, and that your effort in making that grip, so this way at the hips or this way at the hips, this way, right? So what am I talking about now? The whole thing about core new tension. So hips and shoulders. The whole thing about core new tension is that the ability to go into depth in your grip in your hips, right, lowers the axis of the hips that you're rotating around. You get longer between shoulders and hips. It presses away from one another. That's the biomechanics that you understand, or at least are aware of, you have knowledge of, and know how to make use of as a Pilates student or instructor, regardless of whatever it means anywhere else. So I get my closing comment. The focus is on your core, is here on your core. In a way, because it's in finding and developing your, well, not in a way, because it just is. That's where, as an instructor or a student, you take out a heavy object like this, or a can of soup, and you place it low on the belly, here, right above your pubic bone, and you try to lift the weight of your leg, so there's loading, lift the weight of your leg without letting anything else move. All of that reference to core and your body like a trunk, right, and a powerhouse is vague generalization toward the reality of the way the body engages itself to move through space. So right underneath that, my comment is there is a reason why. And because there is a reason why, then you know what. Everyone chooses their own point of view, isn't that the truth? And it's up to you what you do with the knowledge that you have. So, on Facebook, I'm into my childhood and recognition by name, looking through the magic mirror. Okay? If it was tape, I could do it like this. Anyway, magic mirror. But on YouTube I can't see who's watching, and perhaps just as well. YouTube is its own kind of recording because it comes before Facebook, and the history is nobody's watching, so it's like a rehearsal that is a live broadcast in and of itself. Well, I can, because live can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. Have a clear handle on CT and MMP. Then add 2 and 2 and embrace karma. Allow someone to exchange the value they're getting for it with what they're paying you to get it. Direct your thinking. Because if you aren't already, everyone else is trying. So recognize the difference between Walter Mitty, between daydreaming and actually directing your thinking. Recognize that and acknowledge that, so that you can then, when you recognize your daydreaming, you can choose to continue daydreaming, or you can choose to what? To direct your thinking. Geist